Hello and welcome to today's session. So welcome back. We had like 2 to 3 days break in between because we were doing a different session and the slots were not available, but we are back nonetheless. So this particular slot, this is for the second year students, the third semester students, where we are talking about certain essentials of MS Office. Now I have already spoken to you about the importance of it. When companies come to recruit candidates from campus, or even if it's a direct walk-in, or if you're applying on a job portal and you get called in for an interview. Now after the interview is over, they may or may not grill you or ask you questions on your MS Office expertise, but what they expect is you got to have some basic competencies, some basic skills. Because when these companies hire candidates for the L1 or L2 level, what happens is they focus on skilling the person within the organization from the domain perspective. Say for example, you are a commerce student, maybe you are from a BBA stream or a BCom stream, and you have been hired by say Accenture or Capgemini for probably an accounts payable team. Now what accounts payable team does, it takes care of invoice processing for various vendors. Now you will be processing these invoices on a specific application, say Oracle or SAP or these ERPs. What these companies will focus on your initial first or second month of training is training you on these applications, which is relevant to the service delivery. What they will not take care of is taking care of your basic competencies and basic skills, where MS Office plays a very, very important role. If you have to submit some kind of project report, if you have to send some kind of email, or if you have to submit some kind of say standard operating procedures or user manuals, for example, where you need to depict how good you have learned these applications while working in the organization. So your skills and competencies in MS Office plays a very pivotal role. For example, if you talk about Excel, Excel is one of the most, I would say, complex application that's ever built from a utility perspective. Now what we're talking about first is MS Office today. Now this is the learning path that we are looking at in MS Office. We have already finished the first and the second and the third part as well, which is creating documents. To begin with, getting started, what MS Word is all about, how to create a document, and how to add and edit text. These three aspects we have already done. Now we're going to learn about formatting text with styles, save versus save as into various formats. For example, if I have a Word document, let me open this Word document. I'm going to expand this a little bit, zoom it a little bit so that it's clearly visible to all of you. Okay, there you go. So I'm sure this is visible. Let me zoom it a little more. This is to ensure you are absolutely comfortable. Now if I have this sheet, if you see on top, this is what the file name is all about. It says document 1, which means this is not saved so far. So if I have to save it, I click on this icon and I say save. When I click on save, I just need to choose the destination where I want the document to be saved. Say for example, in this case, I want to save it on desktop, and I need to choose a file name, and the file name is sample1. Okay. Now I selected or I decided a file name which is user defined. Now if I click on save, what happens is it gets saved as a Word document. So let me save this. I've saved it as a Word document. If I send this document to somebody else, they can make change to the text. For example, I want to change this entire background into yellow, which means if I save it as a Word document, it is still open to edit. Anybody can edit this file. But if I save as, I can probably change the file name. I make it sample2 and I click on this drop down. You see various options here. All right. Now if I select PDF and I say save, this document gets created as a PDF document. Now you would wonder why it's looking so narrow in terms of the text field. It's as simple as what the design was. So if you look at my sheet, it was also like this. Now if I expand this to a normal mode and if I save this as a PDF again, I need to close this file first. And I select PDF. Let me save this. Now what happens? The formatting is absolutely fine, but only difference is I cannot edit anything until and unless I have an Adobe Writer. So people do not usually use Adobe Writer, they use only Adobe Reader, which is a PDF reader. I cannot edit this particular file, alright. Now when you are applying for any job, when you are preparing your resume, it's always suggested to submit your resume in a PDF format. If you submit in a PDF format, it's non-destructive, which means it cannot be edited any further because you're basically locking the entire file. PDF is a read-only file, alright. So whatever format you choose, whatever design you choose, the same thing reflects on the PDF file, but it cannot be edited by the receiver of the file. So that's about the save as option and how it helps you. Okay, let me close this title page. Let me come back over here. So now I'm going to talk about the formatting text part. Okay. Now document creation I've already told you. I just told you how to create a file name. Okay. Now when it comes to the document itself, you need to understand the header, footer, page break. I will talk about all these aspects, but let me begin with the entire formatting part. Please remember, when you are writing a paragraph, let me zoom this out. When you are writing a paragraph, it should always have a left indent. Okay. If I make this right indent, how do I do this? I have these options here. This is left, this is center, this is right, and this is justified. So right now it's in left, this is highlighted. If I make it center, my text will look something like this. Let me remove this. Okay. So it looks something like this, which is not appropriate. So it should be left. All right. Right now I'm just showing you the formatting part. That's why the font size is pretty small. If I have to make this right indent, this is how it will look like, which is not appropriate. If I make it justified, this is the extreme right one is justified. What happens is, let me zoom this a little bit for your easy viewing. Now pay attention to the gaps in between. All right. If I make this left, see how the gaps are automatically adjusted, but here on the right side it's ending wherever it's not able to accommodate this particular word. For example, if I type the comes here because it can fit in, but if it can't fit in, automatically it goes to the next line. But if I make it justified, when I make it justified, it's indent from left and equally indent from right. Lot of official documents does follow this justified indent, which is okay, but the only problem here is the gaps between the words looks inconsistent, even though it's just one space. So see this, let me zoom this. So this is only one space, all right. There is no difference, but this gap width is different from this gap width. So it's not consistent across, but justified is followed in a lot of areas. All right. I'm going to use this particular paragraph and tell you different ways of formatting the document or formatting the text, because we're talking about format text right now. So I click here, it becomes left, this is center, this is right, and this is justified. So I want to stay with left. I can change the font type. How do I do that? I need to click here. This particular drop down is for font type. So there are various font types, but please do not pick a font type which is difficult to read. For example, this particular font is very difficult to read, right? However, this particular font is easy to read. So your font should be something, the font type should be something which is easy to read. Your generic font size should be either 10 or 11. In case if you are adding a header, it can be 12 or 14, that's fine, but your actual content text should be 10 or 11. Now when you open a Word document, by default the font type is Calibri. It's always on top. Calibri is a default font type, but you can change it. But please do not use font types like Comic Sans. For example, if I select this, this is Comic Sans. You should never use a Comic Sans or Comic Sans. A lot of people say Comic Sans. Please never use this font type. I seriously recommend you not to use this font type at all. Alright. You can use bullet, but before that you can use bold wherever needed. For example, I click here, it becomes bold. The shortcut is Control B. If I click here, it becomes italic. Shortcut is Control I. If I click here, it becomes underlined. The shortcut is Control U. Alright. Now I can add some sub points and I can add bullets. For example, I want to say main sub point, sorry, sub point so let me give it a number. Okay. So I need to select all this and I need to click here, which is for bullets. If I click here, it will automatically select this dot as a bullet, but I can change it. I can click on the drop down, I can select whatever type of bullet I want. Say I want this. Now this is main point. Let me unbold it. So this is main sub point, main, okay, let me change this. Okay. Now this is main point 1 and 2. This is sub point 1 and 2 under the second main point. So this design is not appropriate. Secondly, it's in the same indent. So I need to click on tab. When I click on tab, or I can click here, you see this? So basically that's for tab. I click here, it automatically moves one tab on the right. Now when you do that, automatically the design also changes here. If I want a sub point under sub point number 1, automatically the design changes. If I want another one, 1.1.1, I can select this, I can click on tab again it moves. Automatically the design also changes. Now how do I go back? If I want point 1.2, now this point 1.2 should come under 1.1 in the same indent. So I need to click back here. Alright. Now this is sub point number 2. Now I want main point number 3. Now main point, the design is different, the indent is different. I can select this and I can click here, or I can say shift tab, automatically it will move here. But please remember, if you are writing a sentence on a bullet point, it should not end with a full stop. That's a rule. Now, if I want to change these bullets into numbers, what do? I can select all this, I can click on this number tab. Automatically it changes to 1, 2A, 2A1, 2A1.1, automatically it changes. Alright. If I want to remove this, instead of 1, 2, 3, I want ABC. That is also possible. I click on the drop down and I can select what exactly I want. I can pretty much choose, it's quite flexible. I can pretty much choose how exactly I want my point to be depicted. Alright. So that's about bullet points. Okay. Now, in case if I want to insert or let me, instead of insert, let me still stick with the formatting itself. I want to give a specific color to each of these points. Now, this is for background, and this particular icon, you need to look closely, this icon is for font. So, I am selecting green for number 1, blue for number 2, and this brown for number 3. So, let me bold it and I want to zoom it a little more. So, I can change the font color. Alright. If I want to add a word art, I don't want to make it look like these text. I want to give it a different styling. It's quite simple. I need to click on insert word art and I can select whichever style I want. For example, if I want, say, this one. So, it says your text here, and I can also select the font type. So, I can select whatever font type I want. So, I have selected Century Gothic. I want to make it look bold. I can select the font size and it says enter your text here. So, let us see when we enter a text here. When I enter the text, whatever text I want, when I click on OK, it will come exactly like this. Okay. Now, this particular word art that you see, I can make changes by using some of the samples here, or for example, I want to give it a shadow effect. Alright. I can click here, I can give it whatever shadow effect I want. Let me zoom it a little more. I need to click. The moment you double click, you get a new set of options here for formatting the word art. Alright. So, I can give it I can choose the position where I want it. I can choose what kind of 3D effect I need. I can choose what kind of shadow effect I need. So, see, as I am changing, the shadows are also changing. I can decide where exactly I want the shadow to appear. Not only that, I can change the color. Right now it's blue, I want to make it green, but this is a foreground. If I want to change the background also, for example, I can fill it. I can also change the shape of it. So, you have various options the way you want it. This is a straight line, this is a curve, this is a downward curve. So, I can pretty much decide how I want my text to be seen. Alright. I can decide the spacing as well. Right now it says normal, I can make it look tight. So, when you double click, it gives you the option to change the text. Now, if I want to edit the text, I need to click here edit text and I can change it. Alright. So, how do we do that? We need to go to insert and word art. Alright. I can also insert a table. I'm talking about, for example, I can decide how many columns I want and how many rows I want. So if I reduce the zoom option, so see this table is already created. All right. I can decide how my table should look like. I need to select the table. So let me insert the table from the beginning. So I want only 2 columns and 3 rows, and I can select how I want it, how the color should look like. Now I want to show you something. Say for example, I have chosen blue, or let me make it this purple color. Now if I want more lines, I can click here and say enter. So what it does is every alternative color will keep changing. Okay. Now I want the lines to be visible. So this is how the lines are visible. I can change the outlook of it. Now or every alternative it keeps changing. All right. I can give it a shading. I can also edit the text the way it should be visible. For example, I insert a table. My header, this is name, this is age. Right now it is left indent by default. I should always have it center indent because it's a header. There is too much of width in these, so I can just double click. I can select the whole thing, double click, automatically it will pick the actual width of it. I want to make it look bigger, so I can increase the font size, no problem. I can give a shading, background shading for this particular text box. I need to right click, borders and shading, click on shading and choose a color. So let me choose green. So automatically the color changes. Okay. So it gives you various options to play around with the table itself. So I'm going to come to this aspect soon when I talk about the table functions. I just want to show you how it works. So that was like a quick information for you. All right. So I have this text. You know how to make changes. It also gives you the freedom to check your spelling and grammatical errors. I've spoken about that before, and I'm going to do that again. Okay. Let's look at what we have here. So save and save as you are aware of. I've told you how to select the destination from here. You can define the file name. You can also define the file type, how you want it to be saved. Now organizing the document, there is header, footer and page break. So I'm going to talk about header, footer, word count and review. Review is little complex, we'll talk about that later. So let's talk about headers and footers. I've given you example, I'm going to do this again. So I have this text here. So this is one page document only if you look at it. Now I want to give it a header. Okay. Now how do I do that? There are two ways of doing it. I can either double click here. Automatically I can type the header, for example. This is a sample header. Now I want to increase the font size. So I can select what font size I want. I can also change the color. But by default, the headers are always gray when you type it. All right. I want to bring it in the center. That's it. So this is my header. Now what does header do? When I go to the next page, the header will automatically come through. I cannot select two different headers for two different pages. One header is applicable for the entire file, all right. So here we go, this is a header. Now I want to insert the header in a different way, the second method. How do I do that? You can click anywhere, doesn't matter, you need to click on insert and you see this header footer. So click on header. Now you can choose, you want a blank header, you want 3 columns in the header, should it be alphabet? Basically this gives you a template, all right. I can just type edit header and type what I want. I can also insert an image. Let me look for an image. For example, if you are preparing a document, or if you are preparing a letterhead where you want the logo of your company. For example, you are submitting a project, you are from a particular team, your team has a logo, you want the logo to be on top in every page. How do we go about it? Let me quickly show you. For that I need a quick file which allows me to use it as a logo. Just a moment. For example, I have this logo here. Okay. So first I just want to keep it saved on the desktop so that it's easy for me to drag it. Now here is my file. So I can double click here, okay, and I can just copy the logo, Control C, and I can directly say Control V. Now this is too big, I just need to crop it a little bit. But if you look at the file, the logo is too big. It should not be that big, it should be much smaller because the focus should be on the text. So I can double click, I can drag the corners back up, and here it is. If I want this to be a little higher, for example, I can double click, you see this ruler, if I move this up, it will go higher. If I move this up, the text will go higher. I can have this on the center of the page as well. So every page will have the particular header. Now I want a footer as well. I can double click here. I am just typing this is a footer. I want it in the center of the page. So let me zoom it. So it says this is a footer. So every page, for example, if I am on this page, page number 2, it will automatically pick it up. How do I know I am on page number 2? You see this here, it says page 2 of 2. The file has a total of 2 pages, and right now I am page 2 of 2. It also gives you the word count. Okay. Something I want to show in terms of word count. In this entire file, it says there are a total of 368 words. But I want to count how many words are in this paragraph. I can select this paragraph. It will show me 103/368, which means the total word count is 368, out of which I have selected 103. So Word gives you a lot more functionality in terms of your writing ability, in terms of whatever you are submitting. All right. Now here I have a logo on top. I can also have it as a watermark, which is not necessary for you right now. But I just quickly wanted to show you how to insert a header and footer. Now somebody may want to have page number as well. How do I do that? So insert, you have this option of page number. You can decide you want it on top of the page, bottom of page, you want it at the page margin, or you want it at current position, doesn't matter. So I can just select, or I can also select page number format, how the page number should look like. Should the number format be 1, 2, 3, 4? Should it be 1 of 1, 1 of 2, 1 of 3, which means it also shows total number of pages. So let's pick that. And it also, you can select when should it start. Should it start with page number 1 itself? Because sometimes on a Word document your first page is a title page. So that is not counted. For example, if you are writing a project, your title page should not be counted, your index page should not be counted, your preface should not be counted, so the glossary should not be counted. So you can decide from which page it should start counting, alright. So let me select 1 of 1, 1 of 2, this particular option, and I am saying OK. Alright. So let me insert the page number. I want it on bottom of the page, and I can select how I want it and where exactly I want it. So if I select this, so it says -1, that is page number 1. If I go to the next one, so that got deleted. So if I go to the next one, automatically it shows second page. You see this? Let me come down. It says second page. So you don't have to manually keep on changing the page number. The system will pick it up automatically. Alright. Let's go back to our slide. Now I want to quickly show you the page header, footer. I have already shown you. The border, page color, and watermark. Watermark is little complex, which I will talk about later, but let me quickly tell you how to add a border or a page background. So this is my document. I can go to page layout and I can select this page color. I can select whatever color I want. Never use too dark colors, it's not advisable, but I can select. So let me select a particular color here. I have selected this particular color. I can select a border, so page border I can select. For example, okay, so you need to go to page layout. You have this page border. Let me expand this a little more so that you can see it clearly. I can select what styling I want. For example, right now it's clicked on none. So I don't have, or I didn't have any kind of border selected. If I want a 3D effect border, I can select this. I can select a color. For example, just to show you, I'm using red. The width of the line right now it's half point. I want to make it 4.5. This is only to show you how it's going to look. I can select what design I want here. So I am selecting this particular design. I am saying OK. Okay. So you see this, the border automatically got selected. Now once you select a particular design of a border, it will be applicable for the entire document. Alright. For the entire document it will be applicable. So right now it's showing as black. I want to change the color. You see this? So it will be applicable for the entire file. You cannot change it. So remember, when it comes to header, footer, in case if you use a logo as a header or logo as a footer or page number format or borders, whatever page you are in, you can activate it, but that will be applicable for the entire file. You cannot change it from one page to another. If you want to change it, you need to create another file. It's not possible. So basically once you activate, it gets applied by default across the file. Okay. So tomorrow's session we will understand how to use a watermark. What do we mean by watermark? For example, if you receive a document, there is a logo on top, but there is also a watermark. For example, all these bonded papers have watermarks. All the offer letters that people get, it has a watermark of the company just to show how authentic the document is. So how to activate or how to insert a watermark, that I'm going to show you. Plus I'm going to talk about the word count, the character counts, the grammar, punctuation, as well as spelling, how to correct it, how the system tells you where the mistakes are. All right. Then I'll talk about a little complex aspects in terms of review and tracking edits. So I hope this was helpful. Whatever questions you have, feel free to post on the YouTube page. Thank you for tuning in. I'll see you tomorrow. Thank you. Bye-bye.